Hello, and thanks for tuning in. Welcome to another edition of Kalkine TV's Executive Corner Expert Talks. Today, we're narrowing in on one company that uses powerful technologies like blockchain and AI to facilitate trust in individuals, eliminating biases and prejudice. TiiQ's unique software takes blockchain credentials to the desktop of every eligible entity without the need for a platform. And joining us today to shed some light on their visionary work is CEO and founder Laura Degiovann. Welcome to the show, Laura. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you very much for having me, Ali. I'm really happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on. First off, what would you say is the fundamental aim of TiiQu?
Well, it will seem a little bit naive, but what we want is happiness of people. And curiously enough, when you talk of happiness, it seems something that has nothing to do with the professional sphere. On the contrary, it is widely demonstrated that the more people are happy, the more they contribute. So it's really about making people comfortable to contribute to the rest of the world. So there is a correlation between happiness and trust, and that's what we focus on. Trust is instrumental to happiness. Trust, if you look at the description of happiness, people describe it as being able to find the place in a community. So be trusted is being able to contribute with meaning and with self-satisfaction. And this is about being comfortable of one's skills and one's ability to be trusted again. So again, it's a matter of trust. And that's basically what we do. We focus on trust because that's what empowers an individual at the point where that individual will be able to contribute to the world and find their place in the world. We look at the circularity basically of knowledge as the enabler of continuous co-creation of further knowledge and consequently to the creation of new things that impact the world.
That's interesting. I mean, what would you say does it take to achieve that trust that you're talking about?
Well, how we achieve is putting together technology and culture, and there is no technology. Technology in itself does nothing, but at the same time is also never the problem. The point is always being willing to make things happen. So what we bring together is a blockchain that makes information impossible to be falsified. We bring together AI that enables to forecast, to project, and then we put these two elements at the service of communities, groups of people. Human beings are tribal by nature, right? So they come together because they find some kind of assurance. And now what we are trying to do is to enable the trust that flourish within those communities to become an asset. And to do so, we need two things. The first is making pieces of truth impossible to be falsified, because sadly, somebody used truth at their convenience. And the second point, because making a piece of truth in itself immutable and impossible to be falsified, I mean, it's not necessarily the ending point. The initial part of the process is to make sure that the truth is true. So to make this possible, we gather people, we give the technical context where peers can meet and validate and revalidate pieces of truth together, so that when well, basically, it's the crowd of the wisdom of crowd. So when peers validate a piece of truth, then that truth can be trusted. So what we finally, to summarize very quickly, we enable an individual to answer questions, and by answering those questions, continuously benchmark their skills against a crowd of experts who have validated that piece of truth. And when that individual also reach the expert level, he or she can contribute further questions. So in this way, we continuously map the available knowledge, which is one of the issue today. You cannot say you are sure you know everything, because knowledge is growing second by second. So when an expert can start contributing, well, he continuously basically map his understanding of a specific domain, and it becomes his collection of proofs becomes a trustable reputation that anyone can rely upon.
Right. I mean, it seems like the applications for this process would be just about infinite, really. I mean, there's so many possible uses, I think, for this information, is it?
Yeah, we looked, well, that's curious, because everyone, very often I understand, I hear this comment, which is absolutely true, but we live, society is made of work, although at the moment, we are looking at finding our satisfaction outside the world of work. But finally, the 80% of our time is working. So we have to first to build a trust within the professional sphere or the business sphere. And then that trust enable also an individual to improve their conditions, to provide to their families in a better way, and finally come to the non-professional sphere. So yes, we think that the identity of an individual is the set of information that derives from a network self. So the different cells that today we spread among many platforms, and without really a unity among them. So that's what we are doing. It's a kind of broader identity that it goes much farther than the name and surname. It's about the impact that an individual can give to the world.
Very well said there. I think you're quite right, especially when it comes to the fact that, yes, most of our time is in fact used for work, and the application could be rather productive if we make it so. So I think very well said there. And as well, could you tell us about Certiif, the certification?
Yeah, Certiif. Certiif was the first technology we have developed back in 2017. Well, curiously, when we started our journey, we started looking at entities. We thought, well, if we convert in pieces of immutable and of truth, immutable and verifiable, whatever a learning provider or an employer states about an individual, well, we make that individual trustworthy. But the problem that we realized is that organizations are not really embracing their responsibility of contributing to one's reputation. So think of yourself, you spend 10 years or 2 years or 3 years, whatever, in an organization. You provide work and you are paid for that. Is that enough? Not really. The point is that in those 2 years, you have contributed to the company, but the salary is certainly good, but it's much better if you also have a piece of proof of how good you have been, how well you have contributed, because that piece of truth enables you to continuously grow your reputation. So that's our vision, an ecosystem where organizations, institutions come together to improve the trust into the individual. But because blockchain credentials are still at the very infancy, so we developed a system that allows any kind of entity without the need of a platform to, from their desktop, to directly convert pieces of truth into immutable records. So we hope that making this easy, it will probably be faster to embrace as an approach from organizations. Because we know that the journey when you innovate and you completely change a system is maybe long. We combined Certiif with peer-to-peer reviews and an assessment, an AI-driven skills assessment, in order for converting a piece of truth instantly when this is revealed and stored in safely in a mobile application owned by the individual.
Right. I mean, it's certainly an incredible concept, as you just described. And, you know, I understand as well that TiiQu is the proud creator and supporter of Cupedia, I believe it's called. That's a non-profit platform that works to enhance the playing field for everyone in terms of opportunities, which is a great concept as well. Could you tell us more about that?
And we look at the professional sphere, right? On the professional sphere is about knowledge, but it's not only about notions. It's about how you put notions together and how these correlate. So today we have a huge need for specialists, because knowledge is becoming very, very niche and very high level. But on the other side, you also need to put together specialists. So how you understand what the individual brings to the table. The only way is to mapping continuously knowledge, how his knowledge or her knowledge has been evolving. But you know, education at the moment is still very elitistic. So this is something for very few. Depending on where you have studied, or you can access certain opportunities or not. And is that fair? Not really. Is that enough? Not really, because again, knowledge is growing constantly. So we have created basically a Wikipedia of questions and answers. So whoever you are, you can take questions and answer and see where you are in terms of knowledge, because knowledge is of everyone. Nobody has a unique knowledge. Whatever we know derives from somebody else that did probably some kind of path before us. So knowledge needs to be available to everyone, and that's why we created Cupedia as an open source, basically. And also anyone should be able to access it, because the more we enable people to grow their knowledge, the more they will contribute, they will give back to a certain point, and this will be good for everyone.
Right. I think you're definitely on the money there. Knowledge is best shared, I think, and best accessible, as you just mentioned. So it sounds like an incredible tool that you've created there. We definitely look forward to seeing that. And speaking of which, is there anything else we can look forward to seeing from TiiQu in the upcoming year?
Well, now what we are doing right now is putting together crowds of peers who want to contribute to make their knowledge shareable and contribute to somebody else's knowledge. So today, the effort is in creating these tribes of experts in the domain of emerging technologies and sustainability. That's where we start from. Obviously, the two are very linked to one another. A sustainable future is only possible today with a huge adoption of technology. So we create tribes. Tribes will create knowledge, and knowledge will be available to everyone, and will be measurable through MyTiiQ and available through Cupedia. The following step is a crowdfunding campaign, and it will be announced very soon. And then hope to see organization coming on board and contributing to a better future for everyone.
Well, I'll have no doubt that we'll see that happen in the near future, and we definitely look forward to seeing your organization coming together, and we'll definitely keep an eye on all the amazing work you're doing there. But thanks very much for joining us in today's show. It's been really great speaking with you today, Laura.
Thank you very much, Ollie, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Laura Degiovann, the CEO and founder of TiiQu. And if you missed any part of that chat, you can catch the full interview on our YouTube channel at Kalkine Media, and make sure to subscribe as well. I'm Holly Shields, reminding you to stay prized and invest wise with Kalkine.